What's up, guys? Phoenix here. So, Deskbots got a top 8 regional finish at a New York regional this weekend. Now, I find this very interesting because people seem to always want to count this deck out, even though it is a good and rather budget option for those of you that are trying to play the game and not invest oodles and oodles of money into it. Now, a lot of people just don't want to take this deck as an actual real contender, even though it is probably one of the best rogue options that you have available to you, because this deck doesn't really lose a lot to a lot of the main deck trends that people would try to do against you. Like Monarchs, this deck has very easy outs to the Monarchs in the form of you don't need to use your extra deck. There's a lot of different other niche little factors that go into play. There's a lot of different cards that are just difficult for some decks to get over that this deck can put out. All the attack point ceilings are incredibly huge. The access into certain extra deck cards that are very good just make this deck a very, very valid pick for someone who's, looking to play something that's not quite the best deck and trying to do so on an economical basis and not wanting to invest oodles of money into it. But anyway, the deck list is one Deskbot 1, a playset of Deskbot 2, a playset of Deskbot 3, a playset of Deskbot 4, playset of Deskbot 5, playset of Deskbot 6, and then a single copy of Deskbot 7 and Deskbot 8. That's his entire Deskbot lineup. It's 18 monsters. And then for hand traps, he has 2 copies of Max C. And for something to draw into off of those Max C's as a defensive card, he played 3 copies of main decked Speedroid Minko. Now, this is basically kind of a battle fader. For those of you that don't know what it does, it's when your opponent's monster declares a direct attack while this card is in your hand, you can special summon this card in attack position, and if you do, change all face-up monsters your opponent controls to a defense position. So, your opponent attacks with a field full of monsters, you special summon this, change all your opponent's monsters to defense position. So essentially, it does essentially sort of end the battle phase. Now, obviously, there are certain outliers like Felgrands and things like that that can make themselves unaffected by this and keep themselves in attack mode and thus still be able to attack with them. But overall, in terms of a hand trap, this is a very solid one because it is the only one that's a level 4, thus allowing you to have rank 4 access. It's also a machine, which also just happens to work well with something like Gear Gigant. But the last monster in the deck is a one of Gen X Ally Birdman to be a random tuner status, and it seems to work very well, on paper at least. It looks like it's a very nice and healthy addition to the deck because it gives you a lot of access into certain different cards that would be harder for you to access in combination with Deskbot 1. For the spells, triple Machine Duplication, triple Upstart Goblin, triple Chicken Game, 1 Terraforming, and double Twin Twister. Literally no nonsense. Every single card in this spell lineup is either a draw card or a card that generates you more cards or takes cards away from your opponent. It's essentially a 33 card deck because triple Chicken Game plus Terraforming attempts to thin the deck down even further alongside the upstarts, making it a 37 card deck, and then this just takes 4 more cards out of it. You're basically just trying to draw into all your combo pieces, and this deck is very interesting with Chicken Game because even without the addition of Deskbot 9, you can typically get Deskbot 3s boosted high enough to where they can just deal game shots over your opponent, where the Chicken Game kicking in with the lowest player in life not taking damage won't apply. There's still certain interactions like that come up. It's certainly easier with Deskbot 9 in existence, but even right now it's still completely possible. But for the trap lineup, 2 copies of main decked Anti-Spell Fragrance, 1 Solemn Strike, and 1 Solemn Warning. The extra deck, 1 copy of Herald of the Arclight, 1 Naturia Beast, 1 Armades Keeper of Boundaries, 1 Metaphys Horus, 1 Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon, 1 Ignister Prominence, the Blasting Draco Slayer, 1 Scarlight Red Dragon Archfiend, 1 Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, and then 1 Deskbot Jet. And for the Xyz monsters, 1 Sky Cavalry Centaria, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Castel the Skyblaster Musketeer, 1 Gear Gigant X, 1 Cyber Dragon Nova, and 1 Cyber Dragon Infinity. This is another thing about this deck that makes it a very valid rogue option, is that it's one of the only decks in the game that can just naturally make Cyber Dragon Infinity through the utilization of overlaying 2 Deskbot 5s into Cyber Dragon Nova, thus allowing you to go straight into Infinity. Not a lot of decks can do that since the banning of Ptolemaeus. Like, some decks have run certain things like Chronomaly Nebra Disc and Golden Jet in order to access it, stuff like that, but those are all very niche. This deck in its natural state is one of the decks, the very few decks that in its natural operation state can make Cyber Dragon Nova into Infinity. And there's a lot more rank 4 access here due to the addition of Speedroid Minko being able to, 1, prevent your opponent from killing you, and 2, open your opponent up for potential game shots and things like that. But anyway, side deck, the only 2 monsters are 2 copies of Vanity's Fiend, triple Monarch Stormforth, 2 Wavering Eyes, and the 3rd Twin Twister makes up the spells in his side deck. Monarch Stormforth works really well with this deck as well because, you obviously you're going to side in the Vanity's Fiends, but you also have these tributes that you can play with it, and these are cards you can use to advance your engine as well when they're summoned. This pops spells and traps, things like that. Little niche things come up. Wavering Eyes is definitely a good card to side in the Pendulum matchup because, one, these get effects when they're destroyed, and not a lot of people want to actually acknowledge that or remember it. Hell, I love this deck, and even sometimes I don't remember that they have effects when they're destroyed, but siding in the Wavering Eyes against Pendulum matchups just gives you a little bit more of a potential edge in that area. For the traps that he sided, triple Imperial Iron Wall, double Mask of Restrict, and double Rivalry of Warlords brings out the deck list to a close. Overall, I really like this deck. I actually want to play with it and test it, make some tweaks to it. I've been testing Gen X Ally Birdman myself for a little while, and I definitely do like the results it gives. It makes things a little bit less awkward, and also allows you to put certain things back into your hand to continue furthering plays, potentially. Minko is definitely a solid addition that I never actually quite considered, but it looks very, very good on paper, and obviously this person had success with it, so there's also further validation there. But the fact that this just happens to be a level 4 machine probably is what makes it the most relevant, because of the fact that you can thus make Gear Gigant and stuff like that. If it didn't allow you to make Gear Gigant, it would still be pretty decent, because it would allow you to make Dweller or Castel, which are definitely options. Then obviously it still opens you up to all these synchro options. But the fact that it can also make Gear Gigant and search a missing piece of something you need, like a Deskbot 3, makes it a little bit more valuable in that area. The fact that this deck is just built to be as consistent as possible with minimizing the cards, definitely something I also like. Twin Twister is definitely a good card as well. I really just overall like this deck. It looks very, very good on paper to me. It's just 18 monsters and then all tuners and hand traps. And the trap lineup is very small, which is this is the first time I've seen a Deskbot deck actually have success in a TCG event where the trap lineup was fewer than 5 cards. Most of the Deskbot decks that have had success in the past have had like 10 to 13 traps in them, and I feel like if the deck is an OTK deck and that's where it's trying to function, then that probably should be something that's slimmed down on. And this is the first time I've really seen a Deskbot deck have success like that, and I really, really enjoy that. From just a pure fundamental deck building standpoint. But anyway, let me know what you guys think about this deck list in the comments down below about Deskbots doing well, if you guys like it, if you guys hate the Deskbot deck or whatever. It is a very budget option for you players that are trying to play decently good Yu-Gi-Oh! On a budget in today's metagame, because it is, in theory, a Pendulum deck. Probably the cheapest one out there, honestly, that's actually got the potential to still do well. So that's definitely something to consider. But yes, like I said, let me know what you guys think about this deck and its performance in the comments down below. But other than that, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the nonsense you usually do. Links are in the description to my Facebook page. It's my Twitch channel, as well as my Twitch Alerts donation link. If you want to support me directly, you can definitely do that there and donate directly to me. Not required, but appreciated. Otherwise, clicking at it if you have not, I'd greatly appreciate it. Helps me make money, and there's no reason to lie to you guys about that. If you have an ad block enabled, please disable it. I cannot express how much it helps. Everything that I earn from YouTube and Twitch Alerts donations and stuff like that for the foreseeable future is going towards a new computer for me to have better quality production, and also more gaming opportunities for streaming, and possibly even another completely different YouTube channel possibly spanning out from this. So that's what all that is going towards. So if you want to support me in this endeavor, then definitely click some ads. If you want to donate, that's fine too. It's completely up to you, but that's all that this is going for and towards, and I wanted to be very open about that. But anyway, other than that, that is all for this video. Like I've already said a few times, let me know what you guys think about Deskbots and this deck in general in the comments down below. But other than that, as always, guys, take care.